Hello and welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell, a discursive symposium on the epistemological, ontological and occasionally scatological essence of humour. Is laughter a neurochemical coping mechanism, a subversive instrument of rebellion, or merely the acoustic byproduct of humanity slipping on its own metaphorical banana peel? I'm the comedy nerd who's seen more than 2,000 different comedians perform live comedy, and you can find out more about my journey in comedy fandom on my website, thecomedynerd.com. Please also take a moment to like, subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. Thank you. My guest this episode is a stand-up comedian who hails originally from Australia and has received multiple accolades for their writing and performance, including So You Think You're Funny and a BBC New Comedy Award. They have a passionate following online, particularly for their outlandish film theories, including my personal favourite, how the plot of TV sitcom Friends predicted the film The Matrix. It's comedian Heidi Regan. So was comedy a big influence then when you were growing up?
Yes, it was, I'd say, my number one. Big deal in my family. That was the main thing we watched and all bonded on. Lots of English comedy living in Australia, but Blackadder, Monty Python, all that. It's, I think Mum always... I'm not sure why I'm going to say that. It was how we all bonded, yeah. And it's still like all our favourite family films, all comedy. And then I think I realised being funny when I was like 10. I realised being funny at school was how I'd navigate being a weird-looking kid. And that's a very important thing to me.
From that experience, what was your route in? Did you go down the path of like dramatic arts and performing?
Oh, no performing. I was only interested in writing, and then and I did communications at uni, and that's where I was like, oh, maybe I can write scripts. And so then I wrote film script, and then I got an agent from that in Sydney, and I wrote for a sketch show, and then I moved to London and thought I'll get into writing for TV and stuff in London, and spent several years failing to get a foot in the door at all. I got an agent here, but that was it. And then she quit being an agent, so then I didn't have an agent.
Not because of you.
So I don't know. It's hard not to take it personally. I genuinely can't remember why she quit. I think, it was to have a baby. Very selfish. But and then basically, I've told this story before, but I basically decided I was going to write a book, and I spent 2.5 years writing this book with no feedback or anything. And then I got to the end of the 2.5 years, and I think I realized the book was average at best, probably bad. And I was like, oh boy, I've wasted a lot of time on this, and had a middle of the night crisis. I was on holiday in LA, hanging out with a friend that was a comedy actor and stuff. But I just basically freaked out in the middle of the night, and then went, what am I going to do with my life? And I couldn't sleep. And then I started thinking of jokes for stand-up. I think I'd started going to watch stand-up because my friend Harriet Kemsley, I'd met her at a job we both did when she just started stand-up. So I think I must have been going to watch her gigs occasionally, and gigs in general, and I always had zero interest in doing stand-up, but I just started thinking of stand-up jokes in my head, and then I was like, I can't sleep, so I thought I'll write them down so that I get them out of my head and I fall asleep. And that's that. And then in the morning I woke up and I still liked the jokes when I read them back, and I was still freaking out, so I was like, I'll try stand-up. And so I booked in to do a gig like a month from then, or 2 months from then, at the Cav that Harriet was the MC at, so she looked after me for my first gig. And I never wanted to do anything less than that night of stand-up. I had so little interest, and I was terrified. And I did the gig, and it went well, and then I was like, oh, maybe this is what I can focus all my efforts on. And that was 10 years ago. So yeah, zero interest in performing, and total stage fright person. And I got stage fright at my 21st birthday giving a speech to my closest friends. But now they wouldn't be able to shut me up. I cured the stage fright.
So getting into doing comedy and with that initial reticence, was it what you were afraid of? Was it like surprising to go into performing live stand-up?
Do you mean, was it as scary as I thought it would be?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, I think well, I think it was like the classic two juxtaposition of the fear I had. It took me about 2 years or at least a year to stop being petrified every gig.
Wow.
So maybe a year, and then I was just nervous for another year or two. But so it was terrifying, but even that first gig, it was amazing to me how much once I was on stage, you just like the terror kind of went like, and or at least all the physical symptoms disappeared. I always thought that was amazing, which was just adrenaline.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I was still scared on stage, I guess, but once you were once you'd done it, you were like, oh, I want to do that again. And yeah, and then the terror would start again. But yeah, and it was slowly figuring out a way to not be terrified. And then you're like, well, now I've got all the good parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you say, you're going into it as a writer, and you've written extensively and performed for like radio and television. And so does that still continue to be the main aim or the main scope for you, the writing side of it, as opposed to, obviously I know you predominantly as a performer, but is it more the writing for you?
I think the writing did take a back seat for some of those years of stand-up, and then I didn't want to be a backseat, but was kind of living alongside it. And then I think now I'm getting back into the writing a lot. Like, you'll be pleased to know I'm trying a different book that could end in the same horrible realization one day, and then who knows what I'll take up as a result of that crisis. But yeah, I love writing, and I think that is my number one thing still. And I love doing stand-up, but yeah, writing is, I love doing stand-up because of the writing. I get to get out there rather than if I'm not doing stand-up, I'm not going, why aren't I on the stage? I'm going, why aren't I coming up with new ideas? So, yeah.
Yeah. So all of your many shows I've seen, they are very well thought out. It doesn't feel like they're very improvised. They're very scripted and prepared and thought through. I mean, how much does improvisation play a role for you?
It plays more a role now, but that's after like 9 years that took. Like I used to, I think first because of the nerves and being a writer, I'd like write out every word for the first like 4 years. And then in the last 5 years, I stopped writing out. I just would have an idea and then say it on stage. But I'm not someone that goes, I'm going to get on stage and riff about dating and see where it takes me. If I don't, I like to have a vague idea. And then, yeah, when I'm really happy and silly at a gig, I will improvise. And they're my favorite gigs. But it's never a plan, and it's, yeah, more happy surprise. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, I should have written more. Like I like that I don't write it out word for word on purpose, because I think it makes you a better performer now. But also sometimes I'm like, I probably would have had a better joke if I'd written one down carefully. So yeah, it's always a balance.
Yeah. Well, what about the film side of it? You have a love of film. How big a part does that play for you in terms of inspiring you to write comedy, or things that you find out in your writing about other movies that makes you want to go down that track? How far does comedy, performing comedy and writing comedy and this love of film intersect, would you say?
I think it, like, especially at the start of stand-up, I wrote my first couple of shows a bit like a film script or film structure, because I was obsessed with structure in film. So I would use kind of the and I still do it subconsciously now, I guess, but I would use the Save the Cat style structure or something, or I'd look at my script and see if it naturally followed it. And I did that quite a bit, but I also became aware that you can't do it to the same degree in a stand-up show. But so I think I'm going off topic there, but basically the love of film, I think, influenced I spent years and years and years studying structure of films.
Right.
And I think that's always informed all my writing because of that.
Yeah.
If that answers it.
But also, it's formed part of what you talk about sometimes. I mean, what I'm very aware of is, like, for example, and people must have seen this so widely, the Matrix Friends crossover.
Right, that's an actual clear example, yeah.
Things like that. Your hilarious takes and theories. I mean, that's a huge crossover, just like literally taking the movies and dissecting them in the comedy as a performance.
Yeah, well, that one definitely is a really good point. And that one came from, like, I spent a couple of years doing a film podcast, and my favorite thing in the film podcast was that I was obsessed for years with watching film theory videos online. And I think I love just that over analysis of anything. So and I think that's what I love film analysis, and sometimes I think it's right and sometimes I think it's wrong, and both are equally valuable to me. And so, I think what I love about film is what you can read into it. And that show in particular, the Matrix one, there was an underlying message and metaphor, which was very much missed by the one review I got, which always hurts. And I'm like, is that because they weren't paying attention to me announcing it at the end, or because I wrote it badly? We'll never know. But basically, I thought that I was going through a tough time personally. So I was like, I don't know. I just want to do a show that I can have the most fun. And if I never do another stand-up Edinburgh show again, I want to make sure I do my dream show if this is my last show. And I thought, what's the thing that makes me, like, I do stand up to connect to the audience. And I was like, what is the thing I love that makes me feel the most silly in the world? These film theories that people tell me I overdo. And then I thought, what is my number one dream that I will think of on my deathbed? It will be if I could convince more than half the audience to go along with this stupid theory. So I thought, I'm going to do this purely for how fun can I make this, and hope that the fun I had with that would make the audience feel fun. And it was my favorite. I think it was my favorite show to perform because it was just so fun shouting at the end of the show about this pointless thing. And the people that really got into it, I was like, oh, I found my people. This is great. And the people that didn't get into it, I feel really bad that they came to such a stupid show. But there was a message underneath it, which was actually about religion and the search for meaning. And if you didn't get it, you didn't watch it properly, Mr. Reviewer. But yeah, it was good.
You said there about having the most fun. And one of the things that I enjoy in general, but also particularly with you, is how much fun you are having when you are performing. You're laughing along with your own jokes and with the audience. But it would be easy to just get so jaded and just the words have become automatic. But you seem to, every single time you do it, you seem to be having as much fun. So is it still that much fun to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got more fun in the last couple of years, probably because I am more competent and confident. So I can rely more on bringing that energy to the audience and getting a response. Whereas I think my first Edinburgh show, the shark film one, that was fun. But because I was new, there were days where I probably was zoned out, panicking. And whereas now I know how to get the funny vibe in the room. And and it is the only way because I hate the build up to a show. I don't ever want to leave my house and go do a stand-up show. I would rather sit and write. But I know that once I'm on stage, I'll have fun if the audience are up for it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's self-preservation to find the fun in it. And I can't fake it very well. I can't fake it, I don't think. And I don't want to learn how to fake it because then... But also, I've had lots of chats with people about that where... I was chatting to a comic the other day who he was like, he puts up a barrier now because he says otherwise it's too hurtful when the audience in his head he's playing a character on stage because otherwise it hurts you too much when they reject it. But whereas I've always said my goal was to be the most myself I can be on stage. But it does mean every time the audience rejects you, you really take it personally. And it's the price you gotta pay, I guess, unless you can do lots of therapy and become a really balanced person. But who's got the time?
Yeah, that is something that I talk about a lot, is that character of a person on stage, and that separation, or how much you separate or don't separate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've pretty much alluded to it now, but you said about trying to be as much of yourself as you can, but how far does that go? How open and honest can you be, and how much does it have to be an exaggeration, let's say?
I think, I don't know if this is answering the question or not, but there's lots of comics that say, oh, I was never the class clown, or I'm never the funny one with my friends, but then on stage I am. And I was the opposite. Like, I was always silly with my friends, and that's how I bond with everyone. And I had no interest in doing stand-up, possibly because of that, because I already got that joy. And when I started doing stand-up, then I was this really deadpan person because I was so scared. And there's some now, because I'm not deadpan, like now I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to, my goal is always feel like the audience are friends at the pub and we're egging each other on to be goofy. But there is also a barrier I have to have. I can't fully be myself unless I'm telling real stories, which is why this year my show, I enjoyed this show because I was telling real events exactly as they happened.
Yeah.
But so much of my material is surreal. So when I do surreal stuff for the joke to work, I have to do a slight persona that is fake, stupid, arrogant. And so I get a part of me probably can, but I don't feel sad doing it, I don't think, because I know I'm making it clear that's not who I am. So the audience feels that I'm being goofy and that's who I am. So I think I'm still myself, even though I'm pretending that I believe I time traveled or whatever.
Yeah.
So yes. So in the answer, actually, I'm always myself, and I'm probably the most authentic comic on the circuit. I just took myself back round into deciding I've nailed it.
You mentioned about getting that review early on, and you've done, I want to say, 6 full-hour Edinburgh shows.
I think it's 5. It's the shark one, the time travel one, the giving birth one, Matrix one, and then this one. 5. I think I did a whip last year.
Oh yes, that's right. No More Mr. Nice, Heidi Regan.
Yes,
that's
which
right.
I named without Googling it, and I found out literally as soon as I posted that Chelsea Birkby had the exact same title, and I immediately messaged her going, I'm so sorry, and luckily it was a whip, otherwise it would have been even worse.
So 5 full hours. And then you said about getting that early on review. I mean, given how much you are putting of yourself on the stage there, how do you feel about reviews and reactions to what you're doing to your performance and criticism in that respect?
I mean, I don't love them. It's pretty hard to be. I don't mind them. I think Edinburgh would be a better place probably without reviews and awards and all that. Like, you get the sense of it when you do a whip and you're like, oh wow, we're all just working on our show and we're not worrying. And this year at Edinburgh, my main goal was to enjoy the show with the audience as much as possible. And the only day I didn't enjoy the show was the day I knew there was a reviewer in, and it meant I just hated it. I understand the need for reviews, but I have read, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty obvious that a performer's not going to love reviews, especially when you often read it and you're like, you've missed the point entirely. And like, you read reviews of other people where you're like, you've not just missed the point of them, you clearly just don't like who they are as a person and you're not being very objective. So I don't and then how much that can impact a person's show for the rest of the month that Edinburgh is really bad, because I think there's great shows I've seen that have then been so put off or ignored because they got an early bad review, and you're like, no, that was, and you hear the stories of how the reviewer, like, either their lack of experience, like this is their first time ever reviewing or first time, and you're like, they shouldn't have that much power. I hear Melbourne, there's a lot less power given to the reviews.
Yeah.
But I'm saying all that because, I don't like all the reviews I've got. And then when I get a nice review, boy, do I respect their opinion. So I got a lovely review this year, and I was like, he really got me. And then, the other review that didn't get me, I was like, well, he doesn't know what I was saying, and he's ignored a lot. And so I just don't think I can objectively review reviews, because I know my limits here, but maybe some reviewers don't know their limits. I would never be I couldn't review a show well. I'm not a reviewer. So there is a skill to it. And I look forward to meeting someone who has that. No, there are some very good reviews. But yeah, I just think it's a crazy thing to try and be objective about. And
yeah.
But also, how would you know what shows to see if there weren't reviews?
Yeah. Well, this is, this is something that brings up time and again. They're not for you, they're for audiences. So
yeah. And also, you can't read one without it's much like an audience. I always look at the person frowning.
Yeah.
And in a review, you always zero in on the bit that you're like, no, I didn't mean it that way. I think the review I got, I had got a review this year that I didn't love. It was like fine, but I was like, oh, I wish they had not viewed it this way. But then, and I thought that they'd been in the day I knew this other reviewer was in. So and that was the day that I wasn't having fun on stage.
Right.
But then I realized the reviewer whose review I wasn't enjoying, I realized he'd come in a different day. So I was like, oh, he came in on one of the days I was having a fun time. And I immediately felt fine then, because I was like, it wasn't the thought that he didn't like my show that hurt. It was the thought that he was judging it off the bad day. So as soon as I knew he'd been there on a day I thought was great, I was like, oh, well, then it's fair. He saw me on my happy day, so I'm fine with whatever he was never going to like the show. But yeah, I remember in Edinburgh, my first show in Edinburgh, the Shark one, I was waiting for Steve Bennett from Chortle to come in. He hadn't come in for like the first week or whatever. And then but I could see the audience when I came in. I said to the tech, oh, I've got a feeling today's going to be the day Steve Bennett comes in. And I saw him walk in, and then there were these drunk guys before the show had started who talked over the intro, and they ruined the start. So it didn't get a laugh for the first time of the whole run. And I was just on the back foot from the start. So I was just so gutted that he came in on my worst day. And that's what hurt more than the 3-star review he gave me. Because if he'd seen it on a good day, he might have given me 3 1/4.
Well, you mentioned awards in the context of a show at Edinburgh, but what about competitions aside from that? I mean, you've had many accolades for like writing, and you've won So You Think You're Funny, BBC New Comedy. How do you feel about those kinds of competitions when it's not about the show, but it's about that sort of spot that you have and you're competing against your peers directly?
I think those are really fair, and they always pick the most deserving person. And actually, you should be. They are objective. No, I think. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on them. Obviously, they've been great for me because those 2 awards got me, were a huge jumpstart for me. I think they aren't objective at all. I think I had massive imposter syndrome after the first one, the So You Think You're Funny, because on the night I thought I did a terrible job and I was sure I'd mucked up. And then when they said I'd won, I was like, I don't know how they judged that. None of the judges gave me any indication they thought I was like gonna win or was the best. So I spent that year feeling like almost embarrassed that I'd won, and I like was no more confident on stage at all. But then I won the BBC one the next year with a different routine and a lot more confidence in my performance. So then that one, that was more like, oh, I feel like on the night this was it worked fine. So and I think winning that, I had very low confidence when I started stand-up, and I think those two really did, in the long run, give me the confidence to keep going, and I might have not had that confidence. So they were good for me. I don't think that they're good for anyone that doesn't win, and they probably shouldn't exist. Here's my hot take. If you win a competition, it's great for you. And if you don't win it, it's really hurtful, and it shouldn't ever make you reflect on your comedy, because it's not like anyone else in those A did any worse a job than me. It's so arbitrary. B, most of them had more success than me not long after. So it's not like it means anything in the long run. It just gave me a confidence boost. I don't think I have anything clever to say about competitions here. I'm struggling to have a hot take. Thank you, BBC, and So You Think You're Funny for what you gave me. This is going to be the bit I regret the most. What do you think of competitions? They're good for me. Except for the other ones I entered that year that I didn't win. Oh, they were awful.
Well, one of the things that I like about you, one of the many things,
Go on,
is that you are, as you so rightly say, a natural storyteller. So I enjoy.
Thank you.
It's a lot of comedians can be quite sort of visceral and very loud and expressive and frustrated, and it boils into how they misfit. Whereas you have a serenity in telling a story, which I really enjoy. It's very. You explain things. It's like a school teacher. If you know,
Yeah.
very sort of matter of fact. Go. This is why this is, and this is how I see this.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're all on board. You know, and it's very. You have a surety about you. Are you mindful? We've talked about how much of you is on the stage, and you've said it's very honest and very close to you. But are you mindful of the perception of that persona that you have, and how it comes across to an audience, and what the way that they see you?
No, that genuinely, it's very. I was not expecting to say that, and yeah, I think it's a very self-absorbed job, and you spend so much time watching clips of yourself, especially these days, to then edit them. So on the one hand, you talk about your persona and all that a lot, but also it's very hard to be conscious of how you come across. And often I'll say a thing and that I am on stage, and someone will go, "You're not that at all." So I'm not conscious of that. It's lovely to hear. Yeah. And I think all I can think to add to that is I remember Eleanor Tiernan watching me at Top Secret years ago, and she said that I make the audience come to me, which was not something I did intentionally. But I think it was partly because I think that was born in my stage fright. Like, I didn't know how to perform big. All I knew, and I focused on writing, so all I knew what to do was say the story I'd planned to say, and the strength I had was the background of writing. So I had some faith that I know where this is going, but I also didn't have an exit plan of now I'll overperform it. And so that has now, through fortuitous randomness, come across as someone who's calmly telling a good story. But I didn't work on that.
Well, because you're a natural storyteller.
I'm a natural storyteller. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. Good callback though that you did, but I'm going to take credit for it because I'm a natural storyteller.
You've brought up the names of a few comedian friends there. Do you find that there are people who have inspired you or who continue to inspire you through their work?
Yeah. Well, Jordan Brooks is always one of the first people I recommend to anyone going to Edinburgh, and he directed my Heidi Gives Birth Live on Stage show. And I went to him to direct it because I felt like I'll never be able to do what he does, very much in terms of his performance style. But often I think we have similar mindsets about like the world or something. So that basically I'd often go to him, oh, I have a joke a bit like that, but it's different. Don't worry about it. But I'm really paranoid about that. But I was like, oh, I think I just love Jordan's stuff. So he really inspires me. And I love that he is so silly on stage whilst being so, what's the word? Like, he's so, never lets himself take the easy way out. And he always makes sure he's getting to the raw emotion. And that's what I've been trying so hard to focus on consciously in the last few years with my work. And when I do work with other comics and that, I'm like, if I'm ever not sure of a joke, I'm like, what's the real emotion I have here? And I think Jordan does that. So he's brilliant. And then for completely different reasons, and I sound such a basic bitch because they both have won the award, but Sam Campbell, when I saw him, I was like, he's just all the silliness I want to be on stage. That's him 24/7. I always say about Sam, he's like everything you say with your friends or other comics where you go, wouldn't it be funny if we did this stupid thing on stage, and you'll go, oh, that'd be so funny, and you go, obviously I can't do that. He goes and does it, and it's so good. And off stage, just it's like he's pure comedy. I've never met such a complete being of comedy. I can't imagine I just can't imagine him not being on, which I know he must be. We're not that close, so I'm making it sound like he's an angel, basically. A pure being of light, but the light is comedy. Yeah.
Are you able to still watch comedy? Do you go out and watch comedies to be entertained, or are you analytical now?
Yeah, I think it has ruined going to see stand-up, and it's that thing everyone says in Edinburgh, the shows that we love the most are like the clown shows and not anything that's so far from what we do that we can enjoy it. Like my favourite show this year was Who's Eaten the Most Toast, because that's a very different show to what I would do. But yeah, I can still enjoy, but the people I can go and enjoy purely, they have to be pretty removed from me, I think. But I went to see Rory Scovel, and people like him and Maria Bamford, I can just sit there and be like, you're just brilliant and silly. Yeah.
We've touched on your Edinburgh shows, but what has your festival experience been like as a whole in broader terms?
Doing Edinburgh?
Doing Edinburgh or across all the festivals and the social aspect of it, the industry side of it. How has that experience impacted on you?
I think, I'm trying to say it in a succinct way. I think it's an amazing thing. This year I went to Edinburgh going, who knows how many more festivals, Edinburgh full shows I'll be able to do, like just because of the economics of the whole thing. So I treated it like this could be my last ever. And I thought, I do not want to waste it being anxious or negative and all the stuff that sends you mad at Edinburgh. So my whole goal this year was to go out and see shows and friends a lot and hang out and enjoy all the fun of it and appreciate having an audience that comes in whatever numbers they come and think, isn't this special that people come and see my show? And I achieved that. So I had it was my favorite festival probably this year. But so I think it's a magical thing. And the first time I went to Edinburgh just as a punter, it was my favorite holiday I'd ever had, apart from Glastonbury, which I'd also just done. So I was like, this is the most magical place on earth. So I think it's amazing. The negative side of it is the industry, everyone goes mad. The closest to depression I had ever come was 2022, my Heidi Gives Birth Live on Stage show, which was probably my most well-received show, but the pressure I had put on myself because it was post-pandemic and we were doing IVF and all this stuff, and I went there thinking, I've worked so hard on this show and it has to go so well, like it has to get such good press and industry and, hope maybe an award or some award nomination, anything to like make sure my career is safe. Otherwise, we won't get to have a baby and all that. Like, it was insane. And to have all that in your head and then go on stage and go, hello, in a room that was like nice, but like it was a bit, I could see everyone in the audience. It was like weird vibes, all that. So I went the first week, I was like crying every couple of days. And my wife was like, said to me, she nearly came up to see me early because she was like worried and I was like, I don't know why I'm crying and blah, blah. And then I like got the show to make sense after a bit and then lost all the like mad hopes part of it and just went, oh, I'm having a nice time with this show. Yeah. So I think other festivals are nicer because you're just there working on a show. You're not there going, this is the bit where I have to win some kind of review or something that makes me think my career is sorted, because there's just no such thing. And you see people that get nominated or have a million stars on their poster and they're saying, this is my worst, I've never felt so sad or something. And you're like, oh God, if you're like that, then why are we doing this to ourselves? So yeah, it's crazy. and then you're like, we're doing all this in this little bubble. And then you leave and you're like, oh, look at the rest of the world that is continuing to exist. And what a silly thing we all went crazy over.
Yeah. What about other targets then? Do you set targets for yourself? Do you have objectives for things that you want to do, want to achieve in the future, given that every show may be the last?
Yeah. And I could die tomorrow. If that's no.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Firstly, don't do that.
No, yeah. I'll try not to. I meant on stage. The targets I set myself, probably because of how bad I am at planning, but my targets are always just like, I want to write this show, or I want to write this book, or I want to make regular videos, things. And I try I just don't go, definitely don't go, I want to be on live at the Apollo but in this time or anything like that, because you can't control that. So I just set targets of, I want to make this piece of work.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's been a good way to do it, but too late now. I probably would be in the same place I am now if I had planned to be on live at the Apollo or something anyway. So let's not set any specifics. We can tick off or not tick off and feel sad.
What do you think that you've learned so far, one important lesson, something that you sort of carry with you from gig to gig, from show to show?
I think the first one that has popped into my head that you always forget as well would probably be that a lot of it's in your head. Okay, the one I struggle with is not to assume what the audience is thinking. And because will look at that one person frowning and think they hate this, and then that will affect my performance. And then I'll find out later either they did or they didn't, but whatever they thought, it ruined the performance for everyone else in the room. And same with if it's like you learn it every time. And so I have got better at faking that I'm not thinking that. and I've got better at thinking maybe they aren't enjoying this right now, but they're gonna, if I can find a way to enjoy this, even though they're making me feel sad. So it's not assuming what the audience is thinking, and which also carries on into your own personal life. And I'm very bad at guessing what people are thinking, and that became a theme of my last show and my marriage and every friendship I've ever had. So yeah, not guessing. There was a very nice way I learned it once, which this person doesn't know. But this audience member I had one year, I was doing a really tough room at the I probably shouldn't say. It was a very tough room, and it was very hot, and it was for a month, and I was miserable in this room. And I had audience members falling asleep nearly every show because it was at 3 p.m. I'm giving enough clues. It's clear where it is. But it was at like 3 p.m. every day, and all these quite older people would come in and get very hot and fall asleep. And I was quite new, so I wasn't able to deal with that. So I was already miserable. And then one day and I never confront anyone in the audience. And one day there was a guy in the audience, and I said to everyone, like, it gets really hot in here. I had like a spray bottle to spray them. I said, like, take off any jackets you have. And this one guy had a big puffer jacket on, and he looked really, like, not angry at me, but he didn't look happy. And he wouldn't take off I said, oh, do you want to take off your jacket? And he just went, no. And I just thought, oh, why do you hate me, like, already? Like, I've not done anything. And I was like so sad that I thought I should just say, like, why. I don't know what my thought was I was going to say, but I just considered saying something like, why are you not happy, or something like that. And then I thought, don't say it, like, you don't know what to say. And maybe he's not, even though I think he's really upset with me. Anyway, as the show went on, like, towards the end, he started to, like, smile a bit more. And I think he probably laughed or something, but it wasn't his reaction at the moment. But he came up to me after the show and he said, I just wanted to thank you. I don't know who you are. I just got flyed for you outside. But I had just been in a show where this comedian was very political and yelling at the audience. And I don't know if they'd yelled at him, but he felt really anxious about it and felt really shouted at. Yeah. He said, you were so calm and nice and kind, and it made me feel really, like, relaxed or safe or something. And he wrote me this lovely, like, email about it. And I was like, oh my God, you were nearly the first person I ever confronted from the stage. And you were actually a really lovely man that was you weren't frowning at me because you were angry. You were frowning because you'd just been yelled at by someone, and I nearly doubled down on that for you. Like, I wasn't going to yell at him, but in my head, I was going to do the equivalent, which was say, like, oh, are you okay, or what's going on? Yeah. And that would have ruined live comedy for him forever. And instead it didn't. And he wrote me such a nice email about it that I was like, never confront anyone. You don't know what's going on in their head. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's my main thing.
Well, given that, then, what do you think have so far been your worst and best moments in comedy? Not necessarily gigs, but as a comedian.
I've such a bad memory that I won't remember. I think the best moments are, like, one that just stands out to me. It's not the best moment I ever had, but it was an early experience of, I was quite new. I was doing a biggish room, and I didn't do crowd work at all. And I said I was from Australia, and someone, like, went woo at the back of the room, and I usually would just be like, thanks, but I just said, oh, where are you from? And they said Newcastle, which is where I'm from. And I get, as I showed in my Matrix show, I get very excited by coincidences. Yeah. So I just, like, went, oh my God, like, which part? And then they were from the same part I was from, and I got so excited. But why it stood out was I was so excited. I was just delighted on stage, and the fact that the audience saw how silly that, like, they were going along with me. So I felt connected. And then I managed to be funny because I felt their support to be goofy. Yeah. So I joked around a bit. It was such a tiny moment, but I just was like, I think it was the first time I felt like, oh, I'm being completely myself, and they're on board with it, and we're all enjoying this. And then I, like, moved on. But, like, and the fact that they were from Newcastle made me very excited as well. So tiny moment, but that has always stood out to me as like, when I was like, oh, I really like stand-up. I'm not just here to do my jokes. I like being on stage and connecting.
Yeah.
And then I think other than that, like any moments of really goofing around with other comics, but like you can have the worst day and then you haven't talked to anyone, whatever, and then you get to your gig and there's someone there that you already like as a comic and a friend, and then they just know how to be stupid straight away. And yeah, and the Bill Murray, I think, is a real I always say I think I'll remember the Bill Murray the most when I'm 85 and think like what a special thing that was, because you go in there, everyone there is so nice straight away, like all the staff, all the comics, and you're just like so happy. And then the audience are always the best audience in London. So yeah.
What about the opposite side of the coin?
Everyone at the Bill Murray, when I had a bad, or I just slam one other random venue, their pieces. Worst times in stand-up, I think, again, it's probably not, I can't think of a specific, but I think any time where I think comedy made me so much more confident in some ways, and it made me so anxious in other ways. And I think that anxiousness is that it's like you regress to high school in some ways, where there's like a hierarchy in your head, or people say it's real. It's like, oh, don't talk to them in this way because they've been doing it longer or shorter. And then you also worry that you're coming, like if you're just stressed before you go on stage, that you're making someone new feel awkward and all that. So I think the worst times in stand-up are where you feel that thing I managed to avoid in high school of cliques and all that. And then also the fear that you wanting to catch up with a friend has ever made someone else feel like that. So yeah, I think stand-up makes you feel like you're in high school again. And it's hard to, I think I'm getting out of that now, but it takes a long time, and it's connected to your career, so that's even harder to ignore.
Yeah. So, Heidi, how can we find out all about you and where we can come and see you performing?
Best place is my Instagram. That's where I focus most of my efforts now, and that's where I put all my sketches and stuff. And if I'm doing an important show, I would put it in my stories and stuff there if I remember to, or TikTok. Yeah.
So then I'll ask you my final question.
Yes.
Heidi, how would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
I'm not good at nutshells, but I would say I think comedy is like the most beautiful thing in the world. And I think comedy is how you can process all your sadness and your happiness and connection with people. I mean, I only study comedy for all my life, and I only think about things in terms of comedy. The thought of writing a drama with no comedy in it I don't have any interest in that. And from my perspective, I go like, that's so easy. They just have to do the plot and none of the comedy. They would probably say I'm being an idiot and that's why I can't do drama. But I just think comedy, like, I forget what we were watching yesterday, and I was like, they had to come up with, we were talking about Hot Fuzz. And I was like, my friend said it's his like top film, and I was like, yeah, it's such a perfect film, and they had to come up with a brilliant murder mystery and make every single line funny and every single line structurally important and a callback, and also then have an underlying emotional arc and probably a philosophical and the book I've been writing, it's like you've got to have like 4 different themes and all that and make sure everything's funny. So I'm just saying comedy's really hard, and anyone who does it is really, really trying their best. So, and if you write drama, maybe you should be embarrassed. And that's comedy in a nutshell, and that's why I'll never get booked for BBC drama. I would say something more pithy. Comedy is how we connect with our fellow humans, and Everyone needs a laugh. Now, go back to slagging off drama. I was just really angry at drama right now.
Thank you so much for being my guest today.
I had a lovely time, which I knew I would.
Thank you so much. It's been a genuine pleasure.
Thank you, Mark.